This video is dedicated in loving memory to our dearly departed Nacho, the sweetest, most loving dog a man could ever ask for. We had you for 15 years and they were all a blessing. I thank God for you, and I can't wait to see you again. I know you're prancing around our mansion and making it like it's yours, and it is, my friend. I will see you soon.
Dr. Barry, the time has come for you to join me.
What are you talking about, Mr. Bones? I'm right here.
Join me, and we'll become more powerful than you ever imagined.
Mr. Bones, I'm with you till the end.
Join me or die.
All right, that's it.
Dr. Barry, I am you.
What? Ah! No! And we're back! And so are you. I'm so glad. Hey, the day nobody knows, I think we should change it to the day everybody knows. Where's my shofar?
Ha!
All right, we all know where we are. Like we said, if these things pass, this trip of Moses passes, we're looking to trumpets. I never thought we'd get here, but here we are. But if you've been with us for a while, you know we've done many videos, about 20 actually, on the Feast of Trumpets. It is the world's greatest rapture scenario. But what we've found over the years is they all fit. Passover, resurrection, the first fruits, the Feast of Wine, the grabbing the brides, and the Feast of Trumpets at the last trump. So we know where we're at, and we know that all of this beautiful revelation is still right. Do you feel almost like we're in a funnel? I feel like we've been being funneled in to this knowledge, and God has been faithful. Surely he will do no thing. Mr. Bones, where are you at?
I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Bones, I need you. All right, surely, would you please?
Surely the Lord God will do no thing unless he tells his servants and prophets.
Yes, we who choose to serve the Lord, even secret servant men, the Lord can tell us because of our faith, and he can lead us to understand. Just like when he walked Israel through that wilderness for 40 years, and he told Moses, now I will see whether or not they will follow me. It was a test. And I was thinking about this the other day with the story of Moses. When God sent Moses at 80 years old, go back and free my people, when he sent him, he didn't give him the entire plan. He's like, go and get my people free from Pharaoh. And Moses is like, what am I going to do? Why would they listen to me? And these people don't even like me. So he's like, you know, the staff in your hand, you know, throw it on the ground and it'll become a snake. Ooh, wow, that'll get them. And then, you know, the magicians of Pharaoh did the same thing. And even though Moses' snake ate the other two, you know, it just didn't have the big splash he had hoped it would. And then with the big plagues, you know, he's like, all right, I'm going to send flies and gnats and frogs. And each time it was like really horrible. And the Pharaoh's like, yeah, get rid of them. But they never did. And so here's Moses. He doesn't know this is how it was planned to play out. That he would go and perform this miracle in all of Israel, and he's having to fail every time. He turns the river to blood. He turns all the water. What was really cool, he touched the river and it turned to blood, right? But all the water in water pots and pans, every other water also turned to blood. So what do the magicians do? They're like, oh, we know how to turn water into blood too. So they, again, it was like a epic fail. But this was God's plan all along. But how do you think Moses felt? He's like, all right, this time I got it. Yeah, you're going to let us go after I do this. And he doesn't. And what did Israel feel? All right, Israel's like, all right, Moses, we trust you. Get us out of here. And then Moses does this great thing, and they don't get to go. So you see that pattern that God did? Well, there's another story, and it's in the book of Kings, when Elijah had caused a famine of rain, which led to a famine of everything, for 3.5 years, 1,260 days, 42 months, just like the tribulation, right? And then when God said that was over, he had Elijah pray, and God told him, okay, the rain will come. So Elijah sends one of the servants. He said, go out to the sea and look, because there will be a rain cloud coming. So the guy goes running out to the sea. Hey, is the rain cloud coming? And he comes back and he's like, there ain't no rain cloud.
What you talking about? Go back again.
So he sends him back again to look for the rain cloud. So he comes back. He's like, what? There ain't no rain cloud. You failed. And he's like,
go back seven times.
It was 7 times total. So he's like, go back again. He did it for 7 times.
Go back again. On the 7th time, it will happen.
So, isn't that kind of like us? We've been looking for the rapture. This is it. We got all this information. Let's look. That didn't happen. And then there's people that are like, oh, I don't know if I have very much confidence in this looking for rapture stuff anymore. And it's like, this is incredible information. Hey, I'm doing what God told me to do. I'm sorry, this isn't it, but it's still coming. That's the thing. You can count on, you can bet everything you have put on the fact God's word will be fulfilled. Okay? So he's got us going out looking, and I look back through my channel and I was like, wow, we've had 7 guesses too. We were like really on Pentecost. And then what did we do? We went to trumpets, and then we went to atonement, then we went to tabernacles, then we went to Hanukkah, then we went to Passover. We skipped unleavened bread. I didn't think unleavened bread sounded like rapture, but Resurrection Day, hallelujah. Okay, and then back to Pentecost, and now here we are, 7 times later. Interesting.
Ooh, I like the number.
Yeah, we're back at trumpets. And so we have a lot to speak about with trumpets, but I just wanted to give you a review of this, and I'm going to show you how this perfect timeline works. But before I start on that, I want you to come over here. I'll show you. Look, I don't do this to say I'm right or to validate me or anything. This is just, I want you to know we've been consistently saying the same thing. We've guessed that these things that absolutely are, we guessed that they would be the rapture. That's the only thing we're wrong about, okay? But when we say that Shavuot is on the 15th day of the 3rd month, it is. When we say that God's true calendar is this, not what the Jews are practicing this year, here's the greatest proof on this, okay? The Jews know that they're wrong, and they know they're going to add a month. There's nowhere in the Bible that says add a 13th month or add a second Adar. That's not scriptural. So they know they're wrong. That's just the system that they decided to go on in like the 4th century, and it's so they could all stay on the same system. It's the Metronic system or something like that. Every 19 years, every 3 years or so, you add a month. All this crazy stuff. So they know they're wrong, okay? And then people are like, well, maybe God will do it on the wrong calendar. Look, he is so particular, he says when they celebrate his holy day, these are not the Jews' holy days. These are God's appointments, holy appointments, his dress rehearsals. And he says, when they celebrate my, God speaking, my holy days on the wrong day, it's an abomination. He says they'll celebrate my day on an abominable day. So he said right there in the Bible that that's what they're doing. So they are. But when we find these things out, when we find out that Shavuot and Pentecost are two different things, and we can trace it out by the trip that Moses took through the wilderness. And in the 5th month is when they had the feast of the Lord that they were set free to do from the very beginning. So when we know those things and teach those things, that's why I've always tried to make my video about all this great biblical truth. And then on the side, well, here's the date I'm guessing. All right, here's the date I think. And it's got a lot of evidence, and there's good reason for you to look. So you got, your mockers and scoffers. Hey, mocker's going to mock. And scoffer going to scoff. No matter what. They just wait. If there's a date written anywhere, or if there's a date they pick up, they're just going to wait. Oh, they can't wait till that day so they can type their little snarky comment. Oh, it's the 27th. I don't know if you're going to be left behind in tribulation. I don't know if you'll end up in hell, but it sounds like your life already is a kind of hell, if that's your joy. And the Bible says to the mocker and scoffer that smites, and that's a verbal assault that they do, he's going to come when they're not looking, and he's going to cut them asunder and appoint their portion with the hypocrites. I think that means being left behind. I don't think mockers and scoffers are going to be up there dancing with us. So again, the only reason I'm saying this is so that you can have confidence in his word, and that, we're not just pulling things out of our hat. Okay, so over here, shing! Okay, so this was my very first chart that I did in my very first set of videos. And my first set of videos was 4 videos as a 4-parter. And this is what we thought. We thought rapture at Pentecost. Back then it was June 6th. And then we thought 105-day wait and then Feast of Trumpets. And then the Feast of Trumpets would start and all the fall feasts. And then there would be 1,290 days. And to the mid-trib will be around Passover. And then 1,260 days till the end. So 1,290 and 1,260 brings you from one Day of Atonement to another Day of Atonement. So that's what we've always been saying, and 2,550 days. So we're still saying that exact same thing. And then from the middle, 1335, after the Day of Atonement, 75 days later, which fulfills your 1335, brings you to a Hanukkah when God normally dedicates the temple. And he's supposed to bring the temple down. So everything fits like a beautiful glove. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so I want to go through this just real quick. Bonesy, scoot over a bit.
Hey, where am I going?
You're in timeout. Okay, shing! All right, so God's prophetic timelines from the book of Daniel. This should just blow your mind, from the book of Daniel and Ezekiel and Jeremiah and Isaiah. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar takes them captive. Okay, and they're in captivity for 70 years, but 2,520 years later is when World War I starts, which is a type of, being brought into captivity also. Then, exactly 19 years later, Nebuchadnezzar takes Jerusalem. So he took Israel first, but he left Jerusalem. Then 19 years later, he takes Jerusalem. So it's more intense. Well, from World War I, 19 years exactly later is when Hitler is appointed chancellor, turning up the volume. It's like, not only are these things exactly 2,520 years apart, but it's also replaying the same story. So captivity and more oppression. And then 13 years later, God speaks to Nebuchadnezzar and he says, you're going to be punished for 7. So that's bad guy getting punished. What happens 13 years later in the future? Nuremberg trials, bad guy getting punished. Then from this same time, in the book of Daniel, it's got 1260 years, 1290, and blessed is he who comes to the 1335. So from that time, we know exactly 1260 years later, the Dome of the Rock is made, which is a type of the abomination that makes desolate on the holy space. And that took 7 years. So Nebuchadnezzar is a beast for 7 years, typology of the tribulation. And the Dome of the Rock, 7 years in construction. So we got two congruent timelines. And then 1335 years, blessed is he who comes to 1335, is 2021. That should make your hair stand on end. This is incredible, okay? And 7 years from that will be the end of the 7 and the 7 and the 7. Now over here, again, Nebuchadnezzar takes them, then they're in captivity for 70 years. In 537, Cyrus sets Israel free to go back to the land, but only a few of them do. They had become quite adept to Babylon, and they assimilated and liked it. So very few went back, only 50,000. Flash forward the prophetic years, 2520 times 360. That gives you the number of days, the exact number of days. Sets Israel free to go back to their land. 1948, May 14th, set Israel free to go back to their land. Again, of all the Jews all over the world, not very many went back. Just like that. A type of disobedience where God said, I gave you your land. They all should have, what is the word? Aliyah. They all should have aliyah. I'll see you because I got an aliyah and I'm leaving here and I'm going back to my homeland. So, but again, it was supposed to be this way. But that prophecy, that's 7 times 7 years, right? Times your prophetic year of 360 days. Their punishment was multiplied. So then 80 years exactly is when Artaxerxes, the Lion King, right? He's the son of Xerxes who married Esther. This is the story of Esther being fulfilled. And then his cupbearer, his advisor, was Nehemiah. So Artaxerxes makes a decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem and bring Israel back to their full glory. That exact same time period, 7 times 7 times the prophetic years, brings us to 2028, Day of Atonement, at the end of the tribulation, at the perfect end of the tribulation, at which point Jesus Christ will, the true Lion King, will say, restore and rebuild Jerusalem. I will rule and reign from here. And he'll bring the Holy Temple down, actually at the Hanukkah. But all that fits. So we have Israel's year of being born, as it was prophesied in the Bible, exactly this year, 1948. In the Jews' account of it is 5708. So God is keeping track of both the Hebrew years and the English years, if you will. Not English, Greek years. Okay, remember the Bible was written in Hebrew, and then the New Testament is Greek. So Hebrew and Greek. So he's got the Hebrew years, but he's got the Greek years too. So in 1948, the Greek year, the Hebrew year was 5708. The 5,708th verse of the Torah is in Deuteronomy, I think Deuteronomy 30, and it says he will bring them back into their land. So he's keeping track of both. And just like the same thing with the story of Esther, it's coded in Hebrew numbers, 5707, but it translates to 5706 at the Shemini Atzeret. So God's keeping track of both years, and we have the birth of Israel, we have the tribulation, the rapture, and the start of the tribulation, which is Jacob's trouble, the 7 years of Jacob's trouble, and then we have the end. all prophesied and laid out for us. So we just need to know which appointed time. Well, God really narrowed it down for us, didn't he? So we're looking at the Feast of Trumpets, and we'll probably do another video recapping what we've already covered on the Feast of Trumpets, but it's known as the Great Awakening Blast, the Day of Remembrance, the Wedding of the Messiah, the opening of the door, the coronation of the King. I mean, everything about it screams rapture. It's actually known as Resurrection Day too. So we always knew that, but we thought that was going to be used for the part for the Jews. But it looks like it's going to be us. And if that passes, we'll look at Day of Atonement, the Judgment Day, because rapture is sure a judgment. And after that, Tabernacles. And after that, guess what? We'll look at Hanukkah again, because I'll go there. But again, with some people say, well, Israel, could turn 74 next year in May. First of all, the Pharaoh, Satan coming with the venom is beyond close. It's becoming mandatory. It's becoming law. People are losing their jobs, besides losing their lives. So there's no way that you could logically imagine we're going till next year. But on top of that, if we went next year, Shavuot, Feast of Weeks, Pentecost, okay? Then that means the tribulation would have to start after in the following Feast of Trumpets, which would make Israel 81. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 prophecies about it happening in the 80th year. So I'm sticking with God's prophecy and God's pattern. And so right now our attention is on Feast of Trumpets, which is October 7th and 8th. October 7th and 8th. I'm leaning towards October 8th because, as the Bible says, at the last trump. So, they blow 99 trumps, 3 different kinds over and over. And then the last one is that long blast, as long as the guy playing it can hold his breath and go. So that's what we're looking at. So the truth is we are entering into the month of Elul. Okay, probably when you're watching this, when the errant, incorrect, fake Feast of Trumpets is being talked about around the world, we are actually entering into the first day of Elul. Elul is the 6th month of God, and it is the month of repentance, the Hebrew word teshuvah, and it's about turning back to God and turning back to your Lord. And it's known as the King is in the field, as if God's presence is here amongst us, kind of watching us and drawing us back. And this is a time of fasting. So we have in our practice, we've kind of fasted along with God's pattern. I don't do the whole 40 days anymore. I used to, and it's incredible, life-changing, truly is. And I credit my health and longevity to the fact that I've fasted like the Lord instructed. And he said, when you fast, clean yourself up and try to look your best. So in case I look a little haggard, I've been through it. This is my 10th day of fasting. I started a little early. And I also had, how many of you are like me? You've been putting things off forever, right? Because, hey, we're almost raptured. I got a broken tooth, whatever. So I said, hey, if this time that we believe is Pentecost, if that passes, all right, I'm gonna do the fast. I'm gonna get my teeth fixed. So I had a wisdom tooth took out and another back molar. Oh my goodness, that is quite an ordeal and a lot of recovery. They had to, go into the bone and such. But here's the miracle of God's secret weapon, fasting. Because of fasting, I had no drugs afterwards. Of course, they had to numb it or whatever, but I didn't have any pain drugs or anything like that afterwards. I've gone through some pain, but ice and rest has been amazing. And we're on a fast. So I'm actually entering into a liver cleanse, which is a really deep cleanse of your liver. And I wanted to show you some of what we're doing. So we're going to cut away to our good friend Emeril Lagasse. It's actually Dr. Barry. But he's going to show us about the liver cleanse. So Dr. Barry Lagasse. Today on Cooking for Jesus, we're going to cleanse the temple of God. What? Know ye not that ye are the temple of God? What? Huh? Yeah, you're the temple. Okay, so we're going to flush our livers with this amazing liver flush drink. Now, everybody's going to ask for the recipe, and I'll tell you, it comes from this good doctor, Dr. Richard Schultz. Now, this is not a paid advertisement. So if you want to look this guy up and get his liver cleanse, this is what you get. And I'll tell you, it's the strongest liver cleanse in the entire world. I've been recommending it for 30 years. You get this really delicious, powerful tea. Look at those herbs. Now that's tea. And then you get these herbal tinctures, a detox tincture. Oh, this tastes terrible. You're going to really hate that you got that one. And then the liver gallbladder cleanse. Oh, Dr. Barry loves this so much. It's just delicious. Oh, I feel my liver getting better already. Okay, as I said, this is not a paid advertisement. This is just something we've recommended to our friends because, you know, the Lord named your liver your liver. Because when your liver works, you live. And when your liver don't work, you're dead. So, this will cleanse your liver for sure. So we start out with this morning drink, which is fresh apples, lemons, some garlic, and some ginger. And then into that, we juice that, and then we're going to mix that with some extra virgin olive oil and some ice. And it's a delicious, creamy drink, and so we'll show you. All right, so, shing! We're going to start out chopping some of these apples so we can get them through the juicer. And it doesn't matter with this juicer, it'll chop up everything. You want to use about 5 cloves of garlic if you're experienced. If you're just starting out and you've never done it, try 1 clove of garlic. And Dr. Barry likes a lot of ginger, so we're going to use a lot of ginger. All right, and about 4 apples. And 2 small lemons, or 1 big one if you got it. Okay. Ah, my finger! Just kidding. Okay, so it should be about a pile like that. Yeah, that looks like a tasty drink. And if your juicer is not as good as mine, we got the Green Life Power Machine here. Hold on, I need some space. Okay. And you're gonna have your juice come out here, and then the poop comes out there. This is very much like what your body does. Digestion is an act of pulling all the good juice and nutrition out of the fiber, and then the fiber goes through. So when you're juicing, it's a way to get in massive amounts of nutrition without having to fill your body with all that bloating fiber. All right, so we're gonna start pushing this stuff through in no particular order. Fresh lemon. Who cut this stuff? I need a sous chef. Don't worry, I'll speed this up in editing. By the way, Emeril Lagasse sounds nothing like this. This is my Bullwinkle voice. But what are you gonna do, huh? You should see my ventriloquism. If you think my impersonations are good, you should see my ventriloquism. Hey, where'd that go? There you are. Get in there. So fiber is very good for you. But you don't need this much fiber. Trust me. I'm a doctor. Or at least I play one on TV. This is one of my favorite drinks. In fact, I would drink it every single morning, except for the fact that you get righteous garlic breath. I'm talking about righteous. So you can go around telling everybody, sorry about my garlic breath, or you could do it on the weekends. So, what better thing to do on Labor Day weekend than cleanse your liver? What? Everybody else is killing their liver? Don't get me wrong, I love killing my liver. But there's nothing more fun than bringing it back to life. You know, Jesus said we would do greater miracles than him. All right. Juicing is cathartic. And it's a good workout. Cha! We went to the apple orchard earlier in the week, and boy, what a beautiful thing to see. All that life springing out of those trees and walking through the apple trees and picking your own, it's just, it really makes you appreciate God. And one of my favorite things at the Skytop Apple Orchard in North Carolina, they have a bamboo forest. Oh my goodness. I think we'll show you a picture of it because it's just so amazing. It's one of my favorite places. In my mansion in heaven, we're gonna have bamboo everywhere. All right, so this is done. And so again, you don't need that much fiber. And we're gonna take this out of the way. So, all right, so already that is super delicious. But what we're gonna do, take our Vitamixer. And again, when you're starting this out, in his book, he says, start out slow, and he even has programs for beginners or intermediate or advanced. Dr. Barry's been doing this for 30 years, so he's very advanced. He even goes past the book. Let me show you this. All right, here's a healthy liver. Okay, and first thing, everything gets clogged up, and then the meat gets toxic. And then it starts to go through all these diseases processes. So when you get cysts in your liver, that's your body's attempt to try to put all the toxins in one place. Huh? God was really smart, huh? So when you're doing a liver cleanse, you're going back that way. Again, this is not a paid advertisement. But, hey, we're entering into the month Elul, okay? That's when all the Jews fast for 40 days and 40 nights. This was the same time Jesus went into the wilderness fasting, and afterwards he was tested of the devil. So he was fulfilling the same appointments that he gave to the Jews, because after all, they're his appointments. All right, so we're going to do exactly 5 tablespoons. That looks about right. Okay, and then we're going to pour our delicious juice in there. You're like, juice and oil, what? Yeah, it becomes really creamy. And then some ice cubes. Love, give me 2 more ice cubes. My cameraman, I called Love. Wife, 2 more cubes. Put them in there. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. So that part's very important. Don't forget it. Okay. Now, here we go.
Oh, wow. This is like pure heaven. Please excuse the label there. That's not for anything unsavory. This is for health drinks only. Oh, it's so delicious. You know, in the book he says, just drink it on down. It's so good, I savor it. But I could barely make it last 15 minutes. All right, so, believe it or not, I feel action happening right here, right there. This is your liver. That's how powerful that is. And then when you do these powerful herbal tinctures, this is filled with some of the most powerful herbs on earth that God gave, leaves for the healing of the nations. And you shoot these very, very bitter tincture. He gives you ways to put it in like tea. This is what the tea looks like. Can you see that? Okay. We're going to simmer that up. So you can put it in the tea or you can put it in a juice to hide it. And then we may make another video on this. Look at this gorgeous stuff, huh? This is the potassium broth. Potassium is one of the most missing nutrients in your life. Potassium deficiency may be causing many of your problems, but unfortunately, potassium supplements are not very good. So this potassium broth is made out of potato skins and carrot skins and whole chopped beets and onions and garlic and greens and beet greens and a little bit of Corinthian peppers, bam, because Dr. Berry likes to kick it up a notch. So you got your hot tea and your hot, of course, we have to reheat this, your hot broth and your cool juice, and you do some fasting and you let your temple be flushed out of all those accumulated toxins. So you can join us for our next show where we're making our famous deep dish Chicago pizza, huh? All right, I'm sorry, I got a little excited about that. Back to cleansing. Oh, all right. This was cooking for Jesus. We're keeping on fire and we're keeping alive till the day he comes. All right, we got some time. Put on your cleansing hat and we'll see you. Let's see. We'll see you here or there or on the video or in the air. All right, October 7 and 8. Boom.
And thank you, Dr. Barry Lagasse. Okay, so we're going to go through this timeline, and I just wanted to say that I look back, through my my channel, and it was like I was on for a season, and it made me think of Psalm 1. Blessed is the man who walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate both day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, which bringeth forth his fruit in his season. And his leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. I just want to praise God because his word is true, and exactly like he said it. I had a season of life where I brought forth living water out of my belly, and I brought life-giving fruit to others. And it's just kind of cool that it was like a season. I was on for one season. So I'll be telling that story in heaven probably a few thousand times. Okay, so let's go through this timeline because shing, the Lord is perfect. Okay, from the fall feast. Now these timelines, the fall feasts include from trumpets all the way to Shemini Atzeret. Okay, so that'd be from the first day of the 7th month all the way to the 22nd, even the 23rd. Okay, so we have a time period from October 7th through the 29th of 2021. Okay, and then this time period in the middle is from Passover, all of unleavened bread, and then starting the Omer count. Okay, so we got from April 12 to 20, 8 days of 2025. And then over here, well, before I go there, in the Feast of Weeks, we have the start of the Feast of Weeks, which would be the 50th day after the 7 Sabbaths. And that would be your first fruit of what we call the Shavuot. That's when God descended on the mount to talk to them and offer the marriage proposal. And that's when we believe the true Ascension Day was, not 10 days before. We feel 100% confident, first of all, by counting complete Sabbaths correctly and starting after the end of unleavened bread. And also the fact that it coincides with Moses' story that Jesus fulfilled being that first fruit of the wheat. I mean, you think about this. He fulfilled Passover on Passover. And unleavened bread, he went into the ground the same time unleavened bread starts. And then he came up as first fruits. Remember, he rose on the third day, which would be the 17th day of Nisan. But he presented the first fruits at the end of that. And then they counted 7 complete Sabbaths. Now, after he went and presented himself to God, why did he come back again? Right? He came back to walk with them and talk with his disciples as the risen Christ. And it says that after 8 days he appeared to them. And in the book of Acts, it says he walked with them for 40 days. So you add the 40 and the 8, and that brings you to the 50th day. Okay? Again, I'm going through that fast because we've already been through this over and over. But so that is June 12th of 2025. But as it says in the book of Leviticus, where it says after the 7 Sabbaths, then count 50 days, that brings you to the 5th month. So we add 50. And then from documents found from the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is from the original temple documents of the Hebrews, which are from the 3rd century BC, 300 or even more before Jesus came. Okay, these documents showed that you would have a feast of wheat, and then you would have 50 days later a feast of wine, and then 50 days later a feast of oil. So we have here the June 12th of 2025 mid-trib, but also plus 50 plus 50. Okay, and then at the end we have all of the fall feasts that will happen at the end from 9/20, which would be the Feast of Trumpets in 2028, through October or 10/12. So that period of time of 2028. So when you try to do the math, you may be coming from the trumpets or the atonement or the tabernacles or such like that. But when you do that, from the Feast of Trumpets, 1290 days brings you to the Passover. And then from the Passover time, again, some of these dates, you would go 1260 days brings you right to the Day of Atonement. 1290 and 1260 is necessary to complete 7 years from one Day of Atonement to another Day of Atonement. Okay? From this same, okay, so what have we said over and over and over? The complete offering in Leviticus 23, verses 15 through 22. When you go there, you will find out that there's an offering of 2 leavened loaves, and then 7 lambs, and 1 bullock, and 2 rams, and then 2 young kid lambs of the first year, and 1 kid goat, and there's a drink offering also. So when the Holy Spirit fell on the 120 in the upper room, that fulfilled something, but it obviously was not the Leviticus 23 offering for the Feast of Weeks. That still has to be fulfilled, and sorry, I got that covered. That's what will fulfill that second story. That's the story when Moses and Joshua came down and they had the golden calf and he smashed it. So that will be fulfilled during the mid-tribulation. Well, coincidentally, right from the Feast of Trumpets, actually from the Day of Atonement, 1,335 days brings you to the Shavuot Feast of Weeks, where they could truly make that offering. That's when the 2 witnesses die and then they're resurrected. I feel like they might have that right around the Passover. And then with the abomination, they'll flee to the wilderness. And then we're thinking about a mid-tribulation snatch. I don't know exactly how it'll be, but this is the next time possible for Jesus to fulfill that. Okay? And then we got 1290 and 1260. We got 1335. From that day, from the true Shavuot in the mid-trib, 1290 days brings you right to the Hanukkah. From the Passover mid-trib, this is actually from Resurrection Day, 1335 days brings you right to Hanukkah. And so from trumpets all the way to Day of Atonement, 2,520 days, and add the 75 days, blessed is he who comes to that 1335, and there's your 2595. So we got everything being fulfilled exactly on time. And rapture has to be joined in on one of these, and we think it's going to be trumpets. So I want to show you another really cool thing. Okay, I want to show you this. I think you're really going to like it. So from in the beginning, so God started the world. We're going to go all the way to the end of the tribulation. But let's use this one here. Okay, so it is known by the Hebrews, who were the original records keepers, that God started the world with his voice and started with the Feast of Trumpets. Okay? Then, 4,000 years later is when Jesus came, you guessed it, at the Feast of Trumpets. And that was in 3 BC. And he actually tabernacled with them, right? And he was wrapped, the swaddling cloths, the Hebrew word for that is the rags that were made from the high priest would wear a garment that would get totally splattered with blood, totally covered with blood. So when they were done with them, they threw them out and they would cut them into ribbons, and they would use those to light the temple lamps that were 75 cubits high. So some of those rags that were from the high priest of the atonement celebration, covered in blood, that's what he was swaddled in. So he fulfills trumpets because the angels trumpeted and said, look, come and see. And then he was wrapped in the atonement rags, being the baby high priest. And then he tabernacled with us. So anyways, from Feast of Trumpets in the beginning till Jesus came, Feast of Trumpets. 2,000 years later, in 2017, at the Feast of Trumpets, God fulfills a Bible verse in the heavens. Rev 12 sign. Okay? And that was at exactly the 6,000th year and the 120th Jubilee. Okay? Feast of Trumpets to Feast of Trumpets to Feast of Trumpets. Then we had 3 years, and in the offerings in the law, you'll see a lot of times it'll say, bring a lamb of 3 years or bring a bull of 3 years. And with the trees, they had to wait at least 3 years. So that's kind of like a purification time. Purification, okay? So then we had the year of dung. 5781. And we covered before, 781 in Hebrew equates to dung. So the fig tree prophecy, I've come looking for fruit on this fig tree for 3 years, cut it down. Then the Holy Spirit says, no, leave it alone 1 more year, and we'll dung it and see what happens. If it doesn't produce fruit then, by the end of the year, when's the end of the year? Right before Feast of Trumpets. What starts a new year? Feast of Trumpets. At Feast of Trumpets, rapture. And then 7 years of tribulation, to end at Feast of Trumpets, and then God will do his work, and I believe time carries on where he's still king over us for 7 years and 6 months. We're going to go over that next. I think I can fit it here. Okay. Good? All right. So from Feast of Trumpets, 4,000 years to Feast of Trumpets, 2,000 years to Feast of Trumpets, 3 years to Feast of Trumpets, 1 year to Feast of Trumpets, rapture, and we wrap this thing up at Feast of Trumpets. You guys like? I like it a lot. Okay, so let's do this. This is going to be the tribulation period. Remember, we're going from the prophecy of David being king over Judah, which means praise, for 7 years and 6 months. It's in the story of Samuel. And Solomon building the temple of God. Know ye not that ye are the temple and we are the temple? It took 7 years and 6 months. And then there's many other prophecies about 7 years and 6 months. But 7 years and 6 months is 2,700 days. But look at how it looks over here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Feast of Trumpets. Passover. And then Feast of Trumpets. Okay, so first year of tribulation, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way to the 8th. Now, God loves numbers. Now, 15 is the number of judgment. 180, do a 180, is about turning back to him. It's about repentance. Okay, so in 7 years and 6 months, so it would end right here. Okay, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 sets of 180. Very prophetic. So we got 2,700 days. And remember Genesis 1:1, the first verse of the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Equals out to 2,701. We did that on a previous video. So the day after this is done, 2,701. I declare the end from the beginning, truly. 15 sets of 180, or 15 sets of 6 months, 15 half times. It's also 390 weeks. So with God, the number 39 is very important. It has to do with judgment. And like when they do the stripes, it was always 40 minus 1 to give you the 39. And then it's 90 moons. Moons. So look at all those prophetic numbers. Okay? Starting with Feast of Trumpets, and then with Feast of Trumpets, and of course, Atonement and Tabernacles. So, okay, I'm going to show you some stuff in the Stellarium, because not only does the Feast of Trumpets perfectly play out in the sun, moon, and stars, and it represents a rapture, but I also found what looks to be a war going on in heaven. So I think you'll enjoy that. Come and join me at the Stellarium. I think it's that way, or maybe it's this way. What do you think, Mr. Bones?
Oh, I love Stellarium. I can't wait to see it.
Hey, where's that new hat you got? One of our good friends from the channel sent Mr. Bones this incredibly fresh hat. Oh, man, that looks good.
Oh, you know, Mr. Bones got to be keeping it fresh.
Right on. Now, okay, I know it's got a lightning bolt on it, and some people said lightning was bad because Satan falls like lightning. But can I remind you who invented lightning? And who is the one that truly throws the lightning? It's our Jesus, right? So I love the hat, and I love lightning bolts. It's power, right? And so anyways, come join us at Stellarium. Alrighty, so here we are in Stellarium, and we see Polaris is straight overhead, and there is Cephas representing the throne of God, and then of course we see Draco. So we have the sun and the moon in conjunction right now, and then tomorrow the moon will pass by, and at sunset, you would be able to see the first possible sliver of the moon. So this is when the Jews will say, this is Feast of Trumpets, the 7th and the 8th. But, as we've gone over many times before, this is incorrect. So, let's just remove the pretty pictures. And we see the sun is clearly in the constellation of Leo, which they know is associated with the month of Elul. And the moon is just barely entering into Virgo. So this is clearly not the correct time for the Feast of Trumpets, and the Jews know this. That is why they're going to add a month at the end of this year. They have adopted this and have been following it for hundreds of years. What did we teach you about the traditions of man? Remember, tradition has the gematria value of 666. So by their traditions, they say, well, it's okay to just add a month every 3 or 4 years, and we'll just play catch up, even though there's nowhere in the scripture that says that. The traditions of man. Okay, so let's go to the true Feast of Trumpets. And I'll leave the pictures off for a minute so you can see. There's the true Feast of Trumpets. So the woman clothed in the sun, and it's right in the upper part of her torso. That's perfect. And the moon under her feet. Okay? So there's no doubt about that. That is correct. I hope everybody else can get on the same page. It's more fun. All right, now I want to show you the war in heaven. Let's see if we can change the position a bit. Okay, I've backed it up a little bit so you can see this, what I describe as what looks like a war in heaven. So we see the sun and Mars, which represents war, but also can represent Satan. And then Mercury's down here with Spica. Mercury can represent Michael the Archangel, and Venus can represent Jesus. So watch what happens over the next couple of weeks. First of all, the sun comes, and almost as if it's hitting Mars. And Mercury has started a retrograde action and is going to be heading back towards Mars. And here comes the moon. Look at this big conjunction. So sun hits Mars, then the moon hits Mars, then here comes Mercury that hits Mars. Mars is taking a beating. Okay. And as we keep on going, here comes Mercury says, I'm not done with you, Mars. Here I come. Now Mars is down here. And there, here comes the moon and Mercury again to give it another hit. Boom. 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 That looks like a war in heaven. And Satan was cast down. So that brings us into November, December area. Okay, so let me just go back through that kind of fast and maybe you can pick it up. Just keep your eye on Mars. Boom. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. That's a war in heaven. Could be. Okay, so this is Feast of Trumpets, and now we'll enter into the Days of Awe, which is a judgment period. And what we're going to see is the moon going from the scales of judgment, going through these constellations each day. Remember, the 7 days of awe will turn into 7 years of awe, and they'll end on the Day of Atonement. So this is what happens every year, that the Woman is clothed in the sun, the moon under her feet, and then it goes through these constellations. So let's look at the next day of atonement, third day. These are, again, the days of awe are 10 days. 2 days of trumpets, 7 days of awe, and then day of atonement. So this would be day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So on the Day of Atonement, the sun is still in Virgo, representing Israel, and the moon is in the judgment constellation of Aquarius, pouring out either the wine cup of wrath or the wine of blessing too, because sometimes the judgment is a good judgment. But God is always replaying and telling his story in the sun, moon, and stars if you pay attention. Again, with the incorrect Feast of Trumpets that they're doing this next couple of days, this does not play out. But when you have the calendar correct, this plays out every single year. So that's going to be the Day of Atonement. When I woke up this morning, could have sworn it was Judgment Day. The sky was all purple. There were people running everywhere. All right. Be blessed. So, can you see me? Mm-hmm. Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we just wanted to capture this. This is our absolute favorite part of the apple orchard. It's called the bamboo forest. And it's just so clean and nice and fresh in here. The ground's all clean, like you could totally camp out and lay down. But just the beautiful bamboo and how cool and how perfect temperature. And it's like bug free. They must have some kind of natural bug resistance or something, because it's always almost no spiders. We did run into a few spider webs, but literally this is our favorite part. Okie doke, I'm lost. Wait, I'm gonna hide.
I can't see you. Where'd you go?
I'm hiding behind this tree.
Whoops. Ow. Okay. I gotta turn it off so I can walk.
Where are you going?